Okay. At question 8, page 11, they gave us the sketch of an exponential function, and they also gave us the equation of the function. And they said point A, 1 and 5 is a point on the graph. They asked you to show that A is equal to 3. That's a simple calculation. We have the coordinate into x and y, and then we can calculate A to be 3. Were you all able to do that? No problems there? Any questions? Nothing. Okay. Determine the y-intercept. Y-intercept means x is equal to 0. I substituted 0 and I found it to be 1. Did you find that? Okay. 8.3, write down the range of f. So if we just look at the graph, the range has to do with the y values. So the smallest y value that it's going to reach is -1, which is the asymptote, not included. The biggest one is going to be infinity, not included. Okay, next up, determine f of 0,23 rounded off to 2 decimals. So you literally just had to substitute 0,23 in the place of x, type it in your calculator, and then you got 1,574944568. Rounding it off to three decimals, there's 3 decimals. You look at the fourth number, because it's 9, it's going to be 1,575. Write down the equation if f is reflected about the x-axis followed by a translation of 2 units to the left. So I did it algebraically because we did the reflections last week. So with a reflection in the, just put in that 3. With the reflection in the x-axis, we put a negative in front of the y. And then you multiply it out, so you get y equal to -2 times 3 to the power of x plus 1. And then translation 2 units to the left, that's horizontal, that has to do with p. And remember, p is opposite way around, so if it's to the left, it's going to be plus 2. You could have done it graphically as well, but I think algebraically was easier. Any questions on question 8? Easy. Are you getting the hang of it? Eh? The Peru, when we write on Wednesday the math competition, it will be in Mama Dal's class. Okay, can we go on? Question 9. They gave you the sketch of the graphs. There they were. It's a quadratic function and it's a straight line. If we just consider it as it is here, I have the straight lines equation. I have one x-intercept and another point on the graph. And that's the information that I have. So they asked you firstly to determine the coordinates of B. You had to see that it's a critical point on the straight line. It's the x-intercept. So I said it's the x-intercept of the straight line, therefore y will be 0 there. I substituted it into the straight line. You could have taken the straight line to standard form first if you preferred that, but then you find b to be 5 and 0. Now, once you have b, I'm just going to put the graph on first again. You've got both of the x-intercepts of the quadratic function as well, and you have a point, another coordinate on the graph. So that means that should have already told you we are going to work with standard form 3 when we want to find the equation of the quadratic function. So I said it's ax squared plus bx plus c. I've got both the x-intercepts and I've got a point on the graph. They wanted you to determine the equation of f, so I'm going to try to calculate a. I substituted into the third standard form. That's the y value of the coordinate. Those are the x values of the coordinate. That's the one x-intercept. That's the other x-intercept. And then I found a to be negative a half. Were you all able to do that? Do you understand? Any questions? Nothing. Okay, once I have a, I put it in its place and I put in the x-intercepts. But now the x and the y that I used with the coordinate, that must remain x and y. And then you multiply it out. So x times x is x squared, x times negative 5 is negative 5x, 2 times x is 2x, and then 2 times negative 5 is negative 10, and then the negative 5x plus 2x will end up being negative 3x. Then I multiply the negative half in, and I got negative a half x squared plus 3 over 2x plus 5. That you struggle with all the fractions? Not. Okay, determine the coordinates of the turning point. Like I told you last time, if my x squared doesn't have a coefficient, I would be perfectly fine using completing of the square. But because it has a coefficient, I'd rather use negative b over 2a. So it's negative b over 2a, and that is a difficult calculation to do in your head. Okay, just use your calculator. Substitute into your calculator. It immediately gives you the answer of 3 over 2. Then I took 3 over 2, substituted into the equation. Do it nicely now. Say f of 3 over 2, showing I'm going to substitute 3 over 2 into my equation. And then you find the y value of the turning point to be 49 over 8. Any questions? Okay, the last one I want, not the last one, 9.4, I quickly want to talk to you about. We haven't come across one like that, but it is actually very, very easy. So, are you done writing? Then I can put the graph on. So when I have the graph here, what they're telling me is they are saying that point E is a point on the straight line. So it's somewhere here on the straight line. But then they tell us where it is. They say it is parallel. It makes a straight line with D, and it's parallel to the y-axis. Okay, so that means E is going to be there. Do you agree with that? Okay. Determine the length of DE. Now, the other questions that we had that were similar to this, that point would have been a critical point and it was easy for us to find. But what does D and E have in common? Because it's a straight line parallel to the y-axis. Do you agree with me that the x value here is negative 1, the x value there is negative 1, therefore the x value there is also negative 1. So I have one part of the coordinate. I have that x is negative 1. So with the other ones, it was a critical point. So I knew, for instance, x was 0, or I knew y was 0, and I could calculate the length because of that half of the coordinate. Now I also have half of the coordinate, but you had to know it's going to be the same as D's because it's parallel to the y-axis. So if they had said it's a straight line DE, but it's parallel to the x-axis, né? you should have known that it's going to be the same y value. And then you can calculate the x value. Does that make sense? All of you? Okay. So what I did is I substituted -1 into x, and then I found that y value to be -2. Now, if e is at -2 and d is at 3, what's the length of DE? It's 2 up to 0 and then 3 more up to D, so it's 5. The length is going to be 5 units. Okay. The next one was an average gradient. Very easy now. You've got D and B. D was given, B we calculated earlier on, and then you calculate the gradient, it's -1/2. And now the last one, did you struggle with that one? Where they ask for which values of x is x times f of x greater than or equal to 0. That's also one that we haven't come across. And I'm going to show you on the graph. Are you done writing there? Okay. So, let's just look here. This is x. This is f of x. Okay. So, if I have x being -5, no, f of x will be negative, right? And a negative times a negative will be positive. If I have -1, then x is negative, it's -1. And f of x is 3, so it's positive. A negative times a positive will be a negative. If I have x2, then x is positive because it's 2. On the right hand side, all the x's are positive. And f of x is also positive. Whatever it is there, it's at the top. So positive times a positive will be a positive. Here, let's say that's negative, that is 6. Then x is positive, it's 6. But f of x is negative. Then a positive times a negative will result in a negative. So the question is asking for greater than or 0, which is positive. So what I did here, all the negative parts I made pink. And all the positive parts I made yellow. I first did it with the x-axis, negative, positive. And then I did it with the function f of x. So here f of x is negative, positive, negative. Okay. I want them to be the same. Then they're going to be positive when I multiply them. So from -infinity up to -2, x is negative and f of x is negative. And the negative times the negative will be positive. So my first answer is going to be from -infinity up to -2. And -2 included because they ask greater than or equal to 0. And now can you see this part? One is yellow, one is pink. That would be negative because they differ. And then from 0 included up to 5, they are both positive. And plus times plus is plus. And that's how I got to the next answer. From 5 to infinity, it's going to be negative again. So you're welcome when you get this type of answer to use your ruler, and then you see where are they the same color, or if they are smaller than where are they different colors to give your answer. Is there anyone that has a question on either of these two functions? Are you guys understanding it better? Is it going easier? Everyone? Okay. So what I want you to do is question 6 and question 7 on page 13. Page 13. Now, let's just quickly look at it. Question 6 is so easy. So they gave me a hyperbola. Can you all see it's a hyperbola? Right. Write down the equations of the asymptotes. Will you be able to do that? Yes. Calculate the x and the y intercepts? Yes. Sketch the graph. Show clearly the intercepts of the axis and the asymptotes? Yes, you'll be fine with that. Then they say if y is equal to x plus k is an equation of the line of symmetry of f, calculate the value of k. So they're just asking for the axis of symmetry. Now remember, with our hyperbola we have two. We have a negative one and a positive one. Is this negative or positive? It's the positive one. And how do I know that? Because the sign in front of x is positive. Okay. So you just find the positive axis of symmetry. 10 marks, easy peasy. Question 7, also very easy. They've given you the equation and the graph, the sketch of an exponential function. In that function, I have two unknowns. I have a and q as unknown. Nandile, if you look at the sketch, not even at the information further, do you know what q is? Yes, we can read it. But they also tell you the line y equal to -6 is an asymptote of the graph of h. Then they say p is the y-intercept of h and t is the x-intercept of h. So I can find q right from the beginning. That's the first question. With the information that they've given me thus far, I wouldn't be able to calculate A. I don't have enough information. But at 7.2, they tell you that the graph passes through the point -1 and -5¼ calculate the value of A. So they are giving you the x and the y. Then I can calculate A. Very easy. 7.3, average gradient between the x and the y-intercept of h. Now, I don't have the x-intercept and I don't have the y-intercept. But I can calculate it because I have the equation. And then I have two coordinates. And when I have those two coordinates, then I can find the average gradient. The average gradient is the easy part of the whole sum. The last question, determine the equation of p if p of x is h of x minus 2. Okay, so where is that minus 2 going to happen? Where does it have to go? To the x exponent there by p, You just minus 2 there, and then you write the equation. You see it's only 2 marks. So it's two very easy ones that I want you to do, and we must spend like 5 minutes tomorrow marking it. And then I want us to do in class question 8 tomorrow. It's a quadratic function and a straight line. With lots of things that we have to answer there. Okay, and it also has a lot of those where f of x greater than or equal to, and the division greater than or equal to, greater than, and then x times f of x greater than, the same as the one that we just marked. So tomorrow we need to get it right. Okay, 100% correct. Right. So I am not worried about exponential or hyperbola. Is there any one of you who still feel uncomfortable, has a question about exponential or a hyperbola? No one. So when we're done with that tomorrow, we're focusing on the quadratic function. We're going to do this one, and then I'm going to give you another one in class tomorrow as well that you're going to do for homework. Okay.